This morning's guest went to his first Miss South Carolina pageant when he was less than a year old. He hasn't missed one in 44 years. And the reason why is sitting beside him this morning. Meet him. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We're focused on the Miss South Carolina and Miss South Carolina teen pageants, which were held here in the auditorium about 10 days ago. And we're visiting with the Executive Vice President, the Comptroller of the Miss South Carolina organization, Joey and Gail Sanders. Good morning, Joey. Good morning, Gail. Thank you so much for coming in early on a Monday morning. We've got a tremendous week. This week, actually, Dr. Adrian Johnson came back to be with us this Wednesday. Kathy Autry Randall will be with us tomorrow here. It was great getting Dr. Johnson back from Texas, who will be with us on Wednesday. And then later in the week, the Honorable Rita Allison will be with us on Thursday. And you won't believe it, Miss America is coming back in here to be here on Friday with us on the 18th. So tremendous that she is traveling 20,000 miles a month, and it wasn't a big deal for her to add it back into her schedule to come back to Spartanburg. She loved the upstate. Yes, she loved the upstate. Thank you all so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
This is tremendous celebration. Of course, the amazing performance of series of the 92 young contestants which were here over the course of, I think, a 10-day stretch, probably spending a lot of time leading up to that 10 days even before that. And of course, for y'all, State Fair, wow. That was amazing, the incredible performance that was put on here in the auditorium as well.
Well, it wasn't exactly the State Fair as I remember the State Fair.
A lot of folks have been. Of course, for me in the Tar Heel State, visiting Raleigh many times, and here in the Palmetto State, is the State Fair always in Columbia?
It is.
Well, it sure showed like Columbia had moved up to Spartanburg 10 days ago when State Fair was held here. It was amazing.
We were really proud of what was accomplished during the competition week.
So. Who came up with that theme, State Fair? Is that a brainchild of Joey here?
Well, actually, yeah. What we normally do, Greg, is during the course of the competition, we get together as a production staff and decide, hey, look, what do we want to do next year?
Right.
You know, this production's over. We've got it here. So what do we want to do next year? So last year in July, we tossed around the State Fair theme, and we worked on it for a year, getting it to Spartanburg, and that's the performance people saw a week ago.
It was amazing.
We were really excited. We thought it turned out really, really nice.
You've got to be. And to think each and every day, little changes, even for, and I hate to say it, I was one of the judges for the event. I hate to say it only because it takes a little of the luster away, but we got to enjoy a lot of different foods for each of the different preliminaries. I think I went through a whole box of Barnum & Bailey crackers, went through a lot of saltwater taffy. I don't know if I got any sleep over the course of the time because all that salt water.
We were as excited about the fair food as we were the actual State Fair thing.
A lot of funnel cakes here in the lobby. Things are being sold up here. All the sweet popcorn and cotton candy.
Cotton candy
was going off the stands. I think they may have run out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think they may have run out. Of course, it's so exciting for y'all and the excitement. We had your husband and your father with us last Monday, the 7th, right after the pageants wrapped up, and to hear him talk about his first involvement with the Miss South Carolina organization, but directly with the Miss South Carolina pageant. I think he said 1960.
Absolutely.
1960.
That was around a long time.
A great story. It was even more exciting to hear him talk about how he got your mother interested in the pageant. Would you mind sharing, Gail, for viewers who missed your husband last Monday, the 7th, a little bit about how you actually got involved and even maybe briefly how he got involved?
Well, basically, Greg, it is an interesting story. Joe always wanted to be a banker, and he immediately went to the bank right after school. And his first day at the bank, he was in the president's office, and the president of the bank said, Joe, what are you involved with philanthropically? Well, you know, he was kind of more interested in playing than any community service involvement. So having taken a job where honesty and integrity are paramount.
Right.
He told a lie.
Ooh. Ooh.
And said, I'm involved with the Greenville JCs
Right.
working on the Miss South Carolina pageant.
Oh, come on.
Because he had seen a billboard
Right.
on the way to work
Way to work
advertising the pageant.
that day? Oh, my Lord.
Advertising the pageant. He will tell you to this day that the longest hours of his life were between 9 and 1 when he could go join the Greenville JCs
Right.
and work on the Miss South Carolina pageant.
Oh, my Lord.
That was in May of
Right.
1960. We were getting married in August 7th, 1960.
So that was your first time learning that your husband likes to fib a little bit.
Well, it was my
Your
first
soon-to-be
time
husband,
that
yeah.
he was frantic, that he had
Right.
told a lie.
Oh, yeah.
And he also was not helping plan the wedding because he was working on the Miss South Carolina pageant.
kidding.
So needless to say, I was not a happy female.
Not a fan of
Not a
pageant.
fan of
Right,
the pageant,
right.
and not really real sure that I was a fan of his
Of Joe
at that
Sanders.
point. So that was how he got involved. And for years, every year, he would beg and say, Gail, please come and help us. We just need help. Please come and help us in the dressing room.
a woman's touch, yeah.
We need women to help dress girls in the dressing room.
Right, right.
And I said, that will never happen. Not in this lifetime will I ever be involved with that Miss South Carolina pageant.
Yeah.
And then one night he called me in 1964, and he said, Gail, I'll do anything for you if you will just come and help us dress contestants. And all of a sudden, Greg, I think gold, frankincense, diamonds went off
yeah,
in my
diamonds
head.
started rolling,
And so
yeah.
I thought, well, I'll just go.
Yeah.
So I went to the basement of Greenville Memorial Auditorium
Right.
and volunteered to help dress contestants. Got into the dressing room with many other women who each were assigned a contestant
Oh, yeah.
to help dress. And they immediately started making fun of the contestant that they had assigned to me.
Ooh.
Her gown was ripped.
Was ripped.
The
Right.
bottom of it was ripped, and that she was just not even any competition,
Right.
and not to worry about this ripped gown because she couldn't do anything in the pageant.
Wow.
Now, I had never put a thread through a needle,
Right.
but I decided on my own that I would sew the ripped gown.
No.
So I sat on the floor, put the thread in the needle, having no earthly idea that this 40 yards of chiffon couldn't be sewn. I tried to sew with tears streaming down my
Oh,
face,
my God,
trying
no.
to sew this green chiffon gown.
Yeah.
Can see it to this day. Well, needless to say, it didn't get sewed. So the next morning, knowing nothing about competition, never having seen a pageant,
Right, right.
I go to Myers Arnold department store and purchase a new gown for the contestant that I was assigned.
Wow.
Took my grocery money
Oh, yeah.
and bought a gown. I came the next night with my big box tied up with a really pretty pink bow, and I presented the contestant with a new gown.
Right.
Then all week long, I just spent my time making sure that I was going to show the other women in the dressing
Oh,
room
yeah.
that
Yeah.
this girl stood a chance.
Oh, Gail. Wow.
Well, guess what, Greg? She made the top 10,
You're kidding.
and I was convinced that I had empowered her to do that.
Yeah.
And from that minute on, it was in my blood, and then it jumped into my heart. And I knew that if you could empower a young female,
Right.
it would make a difference.
That's a powerful story.
So that's how I got involved.
Have you kept up at all? I'm sure a lot of folks want to know, what is that
Absolutely.
woman doing now?
Well, that
you
woman right now
defended?
is a wife and mother, a banker.
A
believe
banker
it or not.
herself. No, that's amazing. Spurned by the bride of a banker, now she's
Isn't that
that's amazing. What a
and
great
that was
story.
Joey's first year.
1964.
64, born in February, at the pageant in July.
And
Is
the
that
contestants
right? Been
passed
here
him
ever
around
since.
Oh,
as
they
a
just
baby.
loved him. Yeah,
Yeah, passed him around as a baby and entertained him. And
I'm sure you've got
enjoy
some
every
great
minute.
Joey stories of pageants. Joey, do you remember your first pageant?
Yeah, I think I was like 5 or 6 years old, and my job duty was to carry my father's briefcase.
Oh, yeah.
I was his administrative assistant. And so all week long, wherever he went, I carried his briefcase and thought that was the greatest thing in the world. And then when I got older, I moved up to the stage crew and then, on production and then into the administrative side.
Right.
So, I mean, I've just grown up. This is what I've done all my life every summer, so I don't know anything different.
And now, during the other 9 months, 8 months of the year, you were pretty active. I mean, I guess the pageant is a year-round.
12-month process.
Yeah, right.
Back when my father got involved, the JCs got together 2 weeks before the pageant,
Right,
built the sets, did the pageant. The whole thing was a 2-week process.
right,
Probably back in the early 90s,
right.
it became a 6-7 month process, and now it's a full-time 12-month a year
Right.
work on a pageant every day.
But Greg, for many states, it is just still a 2-week project
Is
in
that
the
right?
summer.
Wow.
But I think the difference between the Miss South Carolina pageant and many other state pageant is that the Miss America pageant has 2 mission statements. One of them is to conduct a competition and award scholarships.
Right.
And many states do that part of the Miss America mission statement,
Right.
conduct a pageant and award scholarships. And I think we do that very well.
Yeah.
We do conduct a pageant,
Right.
and we award more scholarships than anybody else in the country.
Any state
for
in the
men.
country.
Right, any state. We this year will be awarding $139,250 in cash scholarships.
Wow.
And we will be awarding over $9 million in-kind scholarships to the young women of our state.
That's the Miss South
That's
Carolina
the Miss
organization
South Carolina alone.
There's also a lot of the local.
Locals.
Absolutely.
I think the locals this year awarded over $370,000
Wow.
in scholarships. So we very much believe in that mission statement. There is no doubt about that. But the Miss America organization has another mission statement, and that is to empower young women to become their personal and professional best. And that's what we spend the other 50 weeks of the year
Right.
working on.
To empower young women to become their personal and professional best. That's tremendous. That's tremendous. Well, I'm shocked that more states haven't taken that on as a 52-week-a-year event. I mean, really wrapped around it, because truly that is what better appreciation could you get other than potentially empowering some young men, which y'all are now doing.
Well,
Absolutely.
And,
With the
and,
Palmetto
and, you
Prince.
know, and we said that we started a Princess program about 13 years ago,
Right.
so that young girls in the state could see the whole organization
Right.
from within. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It's just for them to learn about the Miss South Carolina pageant. And when we started the Princess program, many of our locals and several people said, well, why don't you have a Prince program? And I said, that will never happen. Men are empowered enough. We don't need to empower them. So we'll never have a Prince program. But just as many of your viewers did,
Right.
I picked up the newspaper several months ago, and the headline said, South Carolina leads the nation in domestic violence. And I knew right then that we had to start a program to teach young men how to honor, encourage, and respect
Right.
the females in the state.
Right.
This was the inaugural year of the Prince program, and guess what? I loved every one of those young
was a
men.
tremendous
It was a
success.
tremendous,
Oh, you were real happy.
tremendous.
Yeah.
We were so proud.
And so how were the Palmetto princes selected? Not the princess, but the plural. How were the Palmetto princes selected?
The contestants went out in their community and found a young man of their choosing
Right.
that they would like to mentor and be part of this program.
Right.
And so they brought them to us, and then we did what we could to empower them the week they were here in competition. So
That's tremendous. Yes.
we were real happy with the results.
Oh yeah, seeing some of those young men on stage, even helping in some of the performances, you tied them into State Fair.
Oh yeah.
And you were the producer of that entire event.
I did.
Joey. Wow. You had some help, though.
Oh, I had
Yeah.
we have a tremendous production staff that comes in that gives up their time. We have 3 or 4 meetings throughout the course of the year, and then they come in for a 2-week period and actually put together my ideas and thoughts and make it all happen. So yeah, tremendous staff.
Miss South Carolina organization, to a great degree, is run by volunteers.
Over 300.
Is that
300
right?
volunteers, yeah, statewide.
Throughout the state. That is tremendous. Well, it sure shows. For a viewer who may need to get off to work now or get family out of the house, is there a good phone number or a website that someone could call to learn more about the Miss South Carolina organization?
The office number is 864
Right.
843 9090.
Okay.
And we're there 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday.
Okay.
And also they can visit our website, which is www.misssouthcarolina.com.
And it's got tremendous information on there and
Tremendous
links to Miss America and lots of great facts about the history. 72 years in South Carolina. That's not much younger than the entire Miss America organization.
No, I think Miss America's 87 years old,
Right,
and we're
right.
72 years old.
15 years, wow.
Well, that's why we laugh when people say the new reality television. We're saying, Miss America's the original reality show, and it's 87 years old.
Right.
So there's not much new about reality television.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. Well, surely I hope a lot of that was filmed here 10 days ago during the course of that week, because much of it, and not necessarily behind the scenes, but in front of, albeit behind, would be fascinating, and I'm sure is, but just up on the stage, the performance and the young ladies, all the contestants, ages 13 to 24. Is that right? 13 to 24, and the
That's
teens,
correct.
13 through 17, and then 18 through 24. Is that
17
correct?
to
17
24.
through 24. It's amazing to think about. Well, time is flying. I hate to say we've got less than 10 minutes, and I know your mom had a fascinating story. It has a lot of stories, but one of them in particular that stood out, I think she shared when you must have been 3. Is that right? An early one back in 1967?
With Nancy Moore, who eventually became Strom Thurmond's wife.
Right.
The great senator from South Carolina. So.
Yes, yes. Do you remember that? Gail,
Oh,
please
goodness.
share with viewers
Oh
that
my
story.
goodness, there are so many Miss South Carolina stories.
And if not that one, if you've got a better one, yeah.
I'm always saying I need to write a book because there are so many
Why not?
interesting
Yeah.
Miss South Carolina stories. When Nancy Moore competed in the Miss South Carolina pageant, Joey, I believe, was 3 years old. And one day at lunch, Nancy said, Joey, I'm going to be Miss South Carolina, to a 3-year-old.
To a 3-year-old, yeah.
Yes. And he said, you're going to be a Miss South Carolina with really ugly legs. Well, she never let him forget that she was Miss South Carolina, and in his eyes, with really ugly legs. But,
And whenever I see her, she always says, Joey, how do my legs look?
Yeah. And how do they look now?
Oh, she's very attractive.
She's got great
beautiful
legs.
lady.
Yeah,
Beautiful lady.
yeah. That's hilarious.
she was a beautiful lady then.
Then and now, absolutely. You
Absolutely.
think it's amazing the impact that you all can have, and clearly the impact on you at age 3 and mature and
Sure.
continuing to mature through the program. So there have been some men, aside from your husband, who got a little teary-eyed last week when he was with us on last Monday, when he was with us thinking about the impact that the organization has made on him. It was fascinating to see towards the end of it as he highlighted much of the experiences that he's learned over almost 50 years. Not only, of course, falling in love with the Miss South Carolina pageant, but falling in love with your mother 90 days later, or marrying your mother 90 days later, and the excitement of their careers having...
And it's one of the unique things I think that's really interesting about the pageant is we're the only family across the country that have stayed and volunteered and been with the program as long as our family has been.
Oh,
If you
come
count Miss Gail's time, my father's time, you're looking at over 100 years of volunteer service to an organization.
Wow.
Which is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of hours
That is.
and years of service. So we're awfully happy about that.
That is. What do you all see
Even
over
if
the
we've
next...
never gotten to celebrate the 4th of July
I
as a
know.
family at a picnic. So we every year celebrate with the whole pageant family.
Absolutely. Seeing the pageant family, all the volunteers, the donors, your great sponsors, the judges who are here away from their families oftentimes to be
Absolutely.
here. It is a big deal. It's a big undertaking, as you highlight. And it was amazing to see the level of seriousness on a lot of the folks' faces, not just the families, the immediate families and the contestants, but everyone involved. High levels of objectivity out of the judges. We'll have Kathy and Dr. Johnson with us tomorrow, but even Jack and Judge Lee, Judge Allison Renee Lee, a circuit court judge from Columbia, giving up 10 days of her time, and Jack in from Oklahoma, Texas.
Which I believe is the hardest thing for people to understand, the seriousness that judges place in this competition, because it is changing a life for the rest of their life. And
for all 92 of the women.
Absolutely.
For all
and
92.
That is a serious, awesome responsibility.
Right. We've got to ask for viewers in our area, in our viewing area, in the PD, and of course southeastern North Carolina. There's parts of those folks who need to get active with the Miss North Carolina organization and learn more about how they could set up pageants in their communities. But let's say our viewers in Marlborough County, or our viewers in Marion County or Dillon County who may not have pageants, how easy would it be for our viewers in Conway or down in Pawleys Island to start up a pageant in their community? What are some of the basic steps that they need to go through?
Well, the first thing they would do is contact the office.
Okay.
And say, I have an interest in having a pageant in my community.
Right.
And what we have in this state, Greg, are field directors who are part of the organization that are out in the field that deal with local pageants on a local level.
Right.
And they'll, of course, come into their communities. They'll sit down with them. They'll tell them all about the Miss South Carolina organization, how you become a local pageant, all the things interested, all the things that you need to do.
Right.
And they get them signed up. And then, the Miss South Carolina organization talks to them, has a local executive directors meeting, and tells them what's expected of them, what's expected of us. So it's a really easy process.
Great.
You just have the interest and, have a community in which you want to bring the Miss South Carolina organization to.
How many basic volunteers would someone need to amass for, let's say, a viewer in Conway who's watching right now, or a viewer in Bennettsville who's watching right now? How many folks are they going to need to have?
You can have as few as 5.
Really?
If they're hardworking
Right.
individuals. And you can have as many as 50, 100. It just depends on what works for you as an organization. I've seen groups with 5 active volunteers that do a wonderful job, and I've seen locals with 50, 60, 100 volunteers that do a wonderful job. So the gamut is in the field is wide open to whatever works for you in your community.
That's tremendous.
But I can assure you, Greg, anybody that gets involved on the local level will find nothing more rewarding than mentoring the young women of this day.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the greatest reward they will ever have.
I can see it in the eyes of some of the volunteers that are up here, some of the, of course, as judges when I was up here, I couldn't interface with any of the contestants or any of the local area directors, the executive directors, but it was fascinating just to see their momentum and the excitement at some of the events as we went to, where the contestants and their families were there and the judges were kind of sequestered, clearly, but to see the involvement level is amazing. And their excitement of seeing these young women progress.
And I thought you may remember back to the opening of the pageant season, like how excited they were, waving their banners and signs and hollering contestants' names from the audience. I mean, I think that lends itself to what we've tried to always have a family environment within the Miss South Carolina organization.
Just on Thursday and Friday, the city manager here, Mark Scott, and the mayor, Bill Barnett, were with us here in the auditorium talking about the amazing aspects for them, seeing these gigantic crowds turn out for even the early preliminary events.
Well, we wish it was gigantic crowds. That's one of the great tragedies, Greg, that these women compete, put their heart and soul in the state. Last year did over 144,000 hours of service to our state, and the crowds don't turn out for them.
Well, there were some great crowds a couple of weeks ago, but I'm sure that's right. There could be more people, and that's another great thing for viewers. Even if their community doesn't have a pageant, they can come up here. They need to be up here next summer, and even think about spending their July 4th up in Spartanburg. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry we've run out of time. Joey, you and your mother, Gail, you all are amazing.
We enjoyed it. We enjoyed
Absolutely. Sure hope to get you down to Myrtle Beach sometime and get you on Carolina People in our neck of the woods.
We will never miss an excuse to go.
We love it. We love it. Stay tuned for a little more with Joey and his mother, Gail Sanders, coming up next. we're going to start this morning off highlighting first. Since we're with two of the members of the first family of the Miss South Carolina organization, we need to kick it off right. Be the first person in the house to pick up a pen and write down this simple phone number and website, 864-843-9090, 864-843-9090, or MissSouthCarolina.com. Be the first in your community. If your community doesn't have a pageant, be the first there to pick up the phone or visit the website, send them an email, and let them know you want a local, an area director to come in and visit your community and think about kicking off a pageant, whether it's in Bennettsville or in Mullins or Marion or Conway or Pawleys Island, in communities throughout the state. There's a lot of places. You heard Gail talking about empowering young women to build themselves both personally, professionally, and in so many other ways scholastically. We think there's a lot of things in South Carolina that we may not be proud of. First in domestic violence, first or second in being at the bottom on schools. But this is an opportunity where first really stand out, first in the country to pass many millions. We're now at $9 million in scholarships provided by the Miss South Carolina organization in both cash and in kind, 139,000 plus in cash dollars this year provided to contestants and winners throughout the Miss South Carolina pageant. Of course, the real excitement on the local level, $370,000 plus in cash and in-kind sponsorships, or dollars provided to these pageant contestants. Think about that. Let's be first in something in South Carolina. You can be the first in your house. Pick up the phone, give them a call, 864-843-9090. Gail, Joey, Sanders, thanks so much
Thanks, Greg.
for everything you're doing on a
Greg,
daily
thank
basis.
you.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.